Welcome back to the Pearls and Pearls podcast. I'm your host, Peter Kay. In today's episode, I'm joined by a special guest who I met well over 10 years ago. I want to say it might be 15 years ago now. And she is truly inspiring. In this episode, we talk about her journey navigating motherhood, being a wife. She's been married for almost 16 years. We talk about building a business. She built a 6-figure business that she made the difficult decision to walk away from. There are so many gems in this episode. And if you are on a journey of rediscovering yourself, trying to figure out what you want to do at this next phase in your life, whether you are a mother or not, or you are married or not, I'm sure that there is something you're going to be able to take away from today's guest. So stay tuned and let's get into the episode. In today's episode, I'm joined by the amazing Afua, which I'm really excited to have on. She is a mother of 2, a wife, an entrepreneur. She's a home systems coach for busy moms. And I'm really excited about having Fia on. When I was thinking about guests that I wanted to have this year, she was someone that I had in mind. And I think there's just so much value, wisdom that we'll be able to take away from her. She's very humble. She's probably thinking, I don't really have much. I can know it. Yeah. But there's so much we can learn. And just being able to admire your journey from afar, just the little I've seen that you shared, I'm really excited to dive into this conversation. But before we do, tell us a little bit about yourself.
What an introduction. Wow. I don't even know how to top that, to be honest. But first of all, thank you so much for inviting me on your amazing platform. When you asked me to come on here, I was so thrilled. So yeah, about myself. I'm everything you said. I'm a daughter of the Lord. I am a wife of my wonderful husband. Will be 16 years this year, 2 children. And in the midst of that, the Lord has thrown me into discovering motherhood, marriage, and also myself as a woman and what that means, navigating who I am, what I'm into, my businesses and all of that. And it's been an incredible journey so far.
Actually, so glad you spoke about discovering yourself, because I'm still deciding on the title of this episode, but that's one of the things that I had written down. I was thinking motherhood, business, and rediscovering yourself, and then you just happened to say that. So I think
amazing.
That just shows that is something that we need to touch on today. But just to kind of get you warmed up a little bit, I've got some quick fires for you.
Yeah,
just to allow us to get to know you better. So just say the first one that comes to your mind, okay? There's no right or wrong, obviously, to allow us to get to know you. So I'll just start. So some of them will have 2 options, or it might actually require you to think a little bit more. So I'll get straight into it. So are you more a starter or dessert person?
I'm going to have to say dessert.
Okay. And would you say staycation or holiday abroad?
Holiday abroad.
Nice. And what is the best purchase that you spent under £30 on that changed your home?
Wow. What a question.
Yeah, this one has more thinking.
That's a brilliant question. I would say my pillow.
Okay, where did you get it from?
IKEA. Such a simple, those memory foam pillow, those ones where you put your head down and it leaves an imprint on those. But it made me realize how important sleep is. And so it's through that, it's just completely changed how I am by really focusing on rest. Yeah. So that pillow has changed my life.
See, and all under £30. Okay,
yeah.
Nice. And would you say Airbnb or hotel?
It has to be a hotel.
Me too. If I'm going away, I want to feel like I'm not at
home. Yeah.
It has to be a hotel for me.
Literally, because you do that at home. That's the whole point.
Exactly. Unless it's a big group trip, then okay, fine. But otherwise,
yes,
give me a hotel any day.
All day.
And next one, I think I know the answer to this from your stories, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
Would you say family movie night or family game night?
I'm going to say games night, because it gets quite competitive.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it does. And to be honest, my family sometimes chooses some films that I would happily skip. So, but when it comes to games night, you have to be involved, because some people try and cheat. So you have to keep your wits about you. See, you know what I mean?
Who everyone has a cheater in their family.
There,
Is it one of the kids or is it your husband? Or is it even you?
it depends on the day. I can't even. To each their own when it's games night, honestly.
Oh, that's funny. And my last one for you, this one's a bit more thinking. What's
Hmm.
one thing that you're saying no to this year?
What a great question. I would say one thing I'm saying no to this year is not saying no. That makes sense. Yeah.
Hmm.
Because I'm normally drawn to wanting to help and be open,
Yeah.
but I have to be mindful to not stretch myself so thin. And sometimes that comes with disappointing people and having peace with that. So yeah, not saying no is definitely one for me.
Okay, I can definitely resonate to that. And I think generally
Really,
when you are that kind of person that you're helpful, you're reliable, or you're the person that people will come to, naturally it can be easy to just have that habit of like, oh yeah, I can make it work, especially when you're always making it work. So
100%.
I can
Yeah,
definitely resonate to that.
yeah. Okay, it's good that you relate.
And I'm sure other people can relate as well. So
Hmm.
I want to start off by talking a little bit more about marriage. So I know you've been married for
Sure.
coming up to 16 years, which in
Crazy.
this day and age, that's like 60. So that is
Literally.
something to be celebrated.
I'm so grateful.
And that's honestly amazing, very inspiring to see. How old were you when you got married? 24. And at the time, did people consider that as young? Did you get any comments on that? Or was it kind of a bit more the norm then?
So many people raised their eyebrows and I received the side eyes. But they were mainly from people who didn't know me that well. The
Okay.
ones who knew me knew who I was and when they knew who Yemi, my husband, was. And that was it. For those who were closest, they got it. But those who weren't, it was the 24, you sure? Want to
Yeah.
settle down so quickly?
A bit young.
you know? No, yeah. But yeah, it's funny.
It's funny you say that. I think a lot of the times it can be the people that aren't as close to you that have the most to say. So
True,
it's
yes.
it's funny that you say that because I was a
Yeah.
similar age when I got married. I was 23, and like my close family at the time, I did not feel like I was young anyway. But now when I look
Mm,
back and I think, well, I actually was quite young. But again, those that knew me, I've always been quite mature for my age. So it wasn't like a big shock
mm,
or like, oh, are you sure you're going to be doing this? But it was more so from people
mm.
that weren't as close.
Right, absolutely. It's funny you say that as well because I didn't know you were 23 when you got married. That's pretty
Yeah, I was
cool.
23.
Um, I think I would say the people who were close to me were the ones who knew me the most, not people who were just close to me because of blood.
Hmm.
Because I did have people who were closest in terms of my family circle, but they didn't know me as well as they thought they did, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
it makes sense.
And when I look back, I think in the in the culture that we see today, 24 is young, but really and truly, we're looking back because I'm 40 now, and it's like I'm so glad that I married at that age, and I don't see it as young because it's like I got to grow up with my best friend, and we've been
Yeah.
doing life together for such a long time, and it doesn't even feel that it feels like literally 5 years, but um, yeah, I don't see it as young. I just see it as an opportunity that came, perfect timing. We just grabbed it and was like, let's do life.
Oh, I love that. And now we
Mm.
are 16 years later.
Ah, Peter K, how do we get here so quickly? I don't even know.
I mean, the fact it feels like it's been 5, that's good. It shows that
Mm,
it's not felt like a drag or anything like that. I'm sure there's been ups and downs as there would be in any marriage, but that's
absolutely.
that's also a good indication to show that it was the right decision for you.
Right, right.
So, how soon into marriage did you have your first child?
We were 6 months when we found out we were
Okay.
expecting. Early days.
Yes. Okay. Good. Good to know. What was your expectations of having a child versus when you actually got to that stage of we're pregnant, we're planning for a baby, and then after obviously having your first child? I believe that was your son.
Yes, you're correct. What an amazing question. What are my expectations of having a child compared to when I actually had one? My expectation was it wasn't positive because without being so, macabre and morbid, but my environment growing up, it wasn't a positive environment at all as a child. So, and I didn't realize it at the time. It was only in hindsight I was able to see that the environment I grew up in wasn't a great one. So I thought it'd be a burden. I thought it'd be like I'd have to sacrifice myself and put myself to the side. And I didn't factor in that it would have seasons. I just thought it would be, you know, my child would stay as a toddler for the rest of their lives, and then all of a sudden they're 18, not the
Yeah.
in-between phase. But compared to when I did have a child, when he arrived, my gosh, he was one of the greatest blessings that I've ever could have wished for. Because the saying is true, when you're firstborn, especially if it's a son, like there's a bond that you have that you can't mimic it. It's so unique. And he helped heal me in so many different ways, actually. He doesn't know it now, but when he's of age, I'll tell him. But it's amazing. Like even his interest, like in music now, those were the things that I really wanted that I was interested in at his age, but I wasn't given the freedom to explore that. But he's
Yeah.
naturally into that. And it's like, wow, it's like, it's literally come round full circle.
Yeah.
And he's just one of the greatest blessings. They both are, but just focusing on him for this question, yeah, it's amazing.
Well, that's amazing. What are some of the ways that you'd say that having him has healed you? Yeah, we're getting deep today.
We are. I should have brought my tissues or something. One of the ways is he's very intuitive. He's very intuitive to reading the room and reading who I am. And I'm not the kind of parent who wants their child to try and pick them up along the way, because I accept that and I appreciate this is your childhood. Don't think you have to look after me. That's what your dad's here for, and I'm an adult, so we're good. But he's very he sees me in ways where I don't think he would. Like he will, like even if I'm deep in my thoughts, he'll just put his hand on my shoulder and he'll be like, "Mum, you okay?" And just that alone, in a strange way, it's like, this is going to sound crazy, but it's like I'm reliving my childhood the way it should have been through him, by being in that surrounding where he has two loving parents who love each other, who love him, and just seeing how he is, how free he is. It's so like, it's like, this is how it was meant to be. And there is a happy ending to how the story began.
That is so beautiful.
Mm.
I think something that I can relate to with what you've described is more, I'd say that in some ways my marriage has healed me in that. Like my husband, just the way that he is, a lot of the things I would have wanted in my relationship with my dad wasn't there. Whereas with him, he's been the reliable one. He's dependable. He's super helpful. And I think even for me, experiencing that now as an adult, that's definitely healed some childhood wounds that I had. So I think just hearing you talk about that in relation to motherhood and your relationship with your son is like really beautiful to hear.
I hear that. Do you know, I'm so glad you said that as well, because I think in this day and age, the understanding of, marriage and motherhood, it's not valued, because I think people think because they're carrying so much wounds, there's no way that it can be of any benefit whatsoever. But they don't realize that you don't come into these amazing relationships the same way if it's with the right person. Well, mainly marriage here, as this example, like as you're saying with your husband, he's been someone who's been able to help heal you in those ways. That wouldn't have been something you would have experienced had you not been in that marriage. And so there's so
100%.
much beauty from marriage that people don't give it time to let it do its thing in you. But at the same time, marriage is sanctifying, because it can show you some real things about yourself that you don't want to see. You don't even know were there. But that's also part of the process.
That's very true. I think whilst we're on that, something I wanted to ask you as well is what do you think is the biggest challenge couples can face after having children in their relationship? Or maybe even any challenges that you had because you got
Mm,
pregnant quite early on in your marriage. Were there any challenges that you faced kind of having that transition of navigating, obviously being married, but also now being a parent as well?
mm. I would say having a child in a marriage, that only puts a spotlight onto the issues that are already there, because now a child is in the mix. You no longer have that valuable, precious, luxury of time to just focus on the two of you. You have to now there's another person in the mix. And I think one of the main ones could simply be your expectations. So, because we all have expectations of what we think our spouse is going to be like once we get married. And if those expectations aren't met, especially without having any sort of conversation, um, then you're bringing in resentment, disappointment, just built up anxiety and stress. And then it builds up and builds up and builds, especially for the woman, it will build up and build up. And then from the woman's side, it'll be disrespect. From the man's side, it could be, just silence. Or just depending on how they dealt with conflict growing up, it's just rinse, repeat in that environment. So yeah, I think, can I just say two things? One would be your expectations, and another I would say is bringing other people in to your marriage, like looking for other people's counsel before your spouse's when it comes to those expectations.
And I think the expectations one, sometimes you don't necessarily realize you have it until
True.
something actually happens. And I think sometimes, especially you think, oh, I don't have any expectations. But I think
Mm,
one thing is looking at what are your frustrations? Because
yes.
sometimes you have those frustrations because those expectations you have aren't met. So it's even also looking into that, like, what is it about my partner? What is it right now that I'm frustrated about? And often when you
Mm,
look into that, you can see, oh, it's because I was expecting them to be more helpful or to wake up during the night with me or to take
mm,
this off my plate and that's not being done.
mm-hmm.
And then also having those difficult conversations, which can be hard to have to like actually address
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah, so true. So true.
For you, how do you keep communication open when life gets busy? I'm sure when you have children, there's different stages. You've got your nursery phase that you have to go through. Then they start having their hobbies, getting a bit more independent. And equally, you also have your own life and interests.
Mm.
Like, how do you keep communication open when life gets busy in your relationship?
Well, life is always busy, but I think you have to be intentional. So if something's come up and you have to have that conversation, just that heads up, WhatsApp message to your spouse saying, "Hey, just so you know, I just really need to talk to you about subjects in question when you get home," so that yeah, cool, they know about it. But not in a way where you're in trouble, but just so you know, there's something I want to talk about. Um, and as well, um, just choosing points in the day. So I think when you have children, sometimes parents can think that because they are there, they are now your priority, and you shouldn't have boundaries around children, but you should have boundaries around your spouse. Um, and I think that's the wrong way to look at it, because our children are learning about what communication looks like and boundaries, which are fundamental for their growing up. Um,
Yeah.
by how you are with them. So like if me and my husband are talking about something and then my one of our kids just wants to come in and just do a dance, we love you. We really want to see the dance, but now's not the time because mommy and daddy are talking. So
Yeah.
but we will come and see that at the appointed time. And so they respect that as well, that yes, we have access to mum and dad, but there has to be a time and a place of when that is. So in terms of prioritizing, yeah, we just make sure that we always have that time together frequently during the day and just letting each other know heads up. we need to talk about something if need be.
What are some of the lessons that you've learned about marriage? It's almost 16 years in. That is a long time, from 24 to like all of your 20s, all of your 30s, you've been married. Now you're
That's true.
in your 40s, a new decade. What are some of the lessons that you've learned from marriage? If you could summarize it to like two things.
Two things. One of the lessons, which is very close to what I said originally earlier on, not bringing people in. Because as people can be so well-meaning and they will try and advise you because they have your best interest at heart, but that advice isn't necessarily the best thing for both of you as a couple. Because when you were making those promises to each other on the altar, it was just you and him. There was no one else. They were there to witness that covenant taking place, but they are not the ones who are in it. And I'm not opposed to going to other people if, sometimes you do need to speak to other people. But for them to be your first point of call, I would say one of the things that I learned, and I had to learn the hard way, which was if there was an issue that arose, to not automatically go straight out and speak to somebody else.
Yeah.
But instead keep it at home, have those difficult conversations, as you said, and not leave until there was a resolution. Not raise your voice, not use phrases like you always, you never. But yeah, to not bring other people in. And another one would be when a disagreement takes place, to make a promise to each other that no matter what happens, even if you can't resolve it that night, to make a promise to not let negative feelings carry over into the next day. Because it's so easy to do that, to look at your spouse and think they're the enemy. But if you have a husband or a wife who's really on your team, it's easy to forget that you're both fighting the same battle, but from different perspectives.
Yeah, love that. And I think especially the last one that you just said, it's very easy because you do have different perspectives.
Yeah.
You've grown up differently. You might be a different culture. Your age might be different. You're just different people.
Exactly.
It's very easy sometimes to kind of forget that you're on the same team. Let's fight together, not against each other.
Yes.
But even what you said about like not using definitive phrases like you always, and sometimes I'm guilty. Like as soon as I say, I'm like, not always. Like trying to like specify, because whenever you say that, you're never gonna get the result that you want.
It's
the
so
person
true.
automatically is going to be defensive. Like, I don't always do this, but it's also sometimes reframing the way that you say things, which isn't easy. And I think that's why I always say that marriage is not for everyone. If you're not willing to be someone that's going to shift how you normally do things, whether that's the way that you communicate, the way that you talk, it's not going to work. If it's just like, this is just who I am. That kind of attitude is never going to have a healthy and a long-lasting marriage. It just won't.
It's so true. I completely agree. And I think, added to what you're saying, I think definitely for myself, I grew up in an environment where no one took accountability. So if something had happened, then you made me that way. And if you didn't do what you did, then I wouldn't respond the way that I responded. But you haven't realized that the way you responded is your choice. And so just what you just said reminded me of that when if you're kind of going into marriage without taking into account what you may have done, then it's like the battle isn't your spouse, the battle is yourself, really and truly.
Yeah. And I think it just goes back to what you said at the beginning about marriage also can show you different sides of yourself that you probably didn't see before. And I think it's interesting because I always say like how you are with your friends is not always going to be a measure of how you'll be in a marriage.
So
it's
true.
very different. Most times with your friends, you're seeing them at the good times. You're going out together. You're going on holiday together. And I think unless you've lived with someone, I think the closest you can probably see is living with your family because they see those annoying habits, that other side of you. But I think sometimes it does kind of expose those things, whether it's difference in your habits, how you deal with things when you're tired, hungry,
So
annoyed,
true. Yep.
going through stress. And then it just brings up those things that on your own, you might not necessarily see. So it can be that mirror to kind of show you the sides of you that you might not even be aware of.
That's so true what you were saying. Well, yeah, because your friends don't see all of that
Hmm.
on that level. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So let's segue into motherhood
Yes.
now. I believe from what you said, you'll probably be about 25 when you had your
Spot on.
son. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Perfect. So tell me about that. You're still fairly young. You're
Mm.
just newly married. You've now had a son. You're dealing with two big life transitions.
Whoa, yeah.
And at the time, were you also working as well, or had you like taken maternity leave, or you were not working at that time, if you can remember?
Yeah, I can. So I just left my job in a salon. So I was in between jobs at that stage.
Ah, you used to work in a salon. What did you do in a salon?
I was a receptionist, but she
Ah,
pulled me into everything. So I was doing by the end of it, I was like, one of my favorite things was blow drying,
mm-hmm.
with the round brush back in the day. Yeah. And I was doing relaxers and treatments, highlights. Yeah. She trained me in pretty much most things.
Okay, that's
On
very
terms,
interesting knowing that, because also you then did transition into hair care and
exactly.
you were doing your mobile spa at one point. Okay, so life is very much full circle in that.
Right. Completely. It's amazing.
Very interesting. So tell me, at that time, did you ever feel like, especially transitioning into motherhood, were there ever any points where you felt like you kind of lost your sense of identity, or maybe you just felt like, who is this person? Like you felt overwhelmed?
Yeah. All the above, 100%. I had you could almost call it a breakdown, because I really did think that by having a child, I was going to completely lose who I was. And what I mean by losing who I was, it was losing the person who I identified as,
Yeah.
and the person who I knew. Because bearing in mind, at that age, when you're like 25 or 24 at that point, I didn't appreciate that there are different seasons of being a woman. That was my
Yeah.
first season of being a woman. I thought, just like as I was saying earlier on with my son, I thought you're going to be a toddler and all of a sudden you're going to be a teenager. I thought I would be, 25 and all of a sudden I'll be 60. So I didn't factor in that there were different stages in between. So yeah, I did think that, I just kind of completely lost who I was and what a fear looked like, what a fear was into, because I only just knew one dimension, not to know that there was
Yeah.
so much more to discover along the way.
What would you say kind of helped you to reconnect with yourself at that time?
Be present, just had to be present, and to not wish the old life back, if that makes sense. So,
It does make sense.
okay, because if you're continually looking back and chasing, then you're not seeing what's in front of you, and there's so much in front of you. And sometimes knowing yourself isn't about focusing on yourself. You find that out as you are doing all these other things that God puts in your path, and then you've it's through those different things that you're doing, different interests will naturally form, and then you can
Hmm.
look in one direction. Oh, okay, that's interesting, and then that's another interesting thing. Like for example, with the hair spa that I did, mobile hair spa, that came through having my second child, my daughter, because I didn't know what to do with her hair. I wouldn't have come across that any other way. I was doing self-defense. I still do it. I've been doing it for about 10 years. That came about because when I was with my son, we were coming home and I saw this woman get attacked. And I thought, whoa, yeah. So that wouldn't have come about. And I felt quite scared because I thought, I'm with my child. What am I going to do if that happened to me? So it was like,
Yeah.
it's crazy how these things come about. But in my experience, unless we are present in the very thing that God has put in front of us, no matter how trivial or menial it may be, that could be the birthplace of something else that can be your next greatest love. You have no idea.
Wow. There is one question I really wanted to ask you as well before I
Mm.
forget it. I'm sure being a mom and even just being a woman, if you don't have children, our brains are constantly ticking with lists. I need to do this. I need to remember that. I need to do this. I need to do that. Sometimes I think to myself, I don't have children, but my mental load is already, it's already a lot.
It's a lot, yeah.
So sometimes for me, my concern is like, what would that be like then adding a child into that? So my question for you is like, how do you manage the mental load that comes with running a household?
Oh, that's such a deep question. This might sound quite controversial. This comes a little bit back to marriage, but one of the things that I realized was that as a woman, I have a gift in running the home. It's a gift that my husband doesn't have in terms of how the home runs. And I would, for example, I'll be thinking about dinner when we're having breakfast, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas my husband's just enjoying his breakfast. Like, he's just like, I'm loving these honey hoops. And I'm thinking, okay, but the chicken needs to be defrosted. And before I saw that as, why can he not see things the way that I see things, until I spun it on its head and made me realize it was actually a gift. The fact that I can see into other things where his mind isn't wired to work that way, but it's just now about, as you're saying, the mental load. So one of the things I would say is do little things to make your future decisions easier as early as possible. So, for example, if you are thinking about, okay, what we're going to have for dinner, don't start thinking about what we're going to have for dinner and not have any answer to that question when you're like between, like, at any point in the day. So you're now thinking, okay, I don't know it's not just what we're going to have for dinner. It's now a case of, I don't know what we're going to have for dinner. That's a headache, because you know that as every second moment is coming, you're going to have to make a decision, and then it's going to be 6:00, and then you and your husband and your family looking at each other like, what we're going to eat. Make decisions earlier on so that you don't have to think about it later on. And I learned this from being in the chef world, because I trained that's my bread and butter growing up. I trained as a chef. And what we would do is, I'm sure you've seen it in like Gordon Ramsay's, those chef programs, where before the doors would be open to customers, the chefs would be preparing like small parts of the dish beforehand, so that whenever somebody will place an order, you just grab whatever and then just put it together, and then it's out the door, and then you can serve it to the customers. And I apply that literally to running a home. Just coming back to your example with dinner, when dinner's going to be, instead of thinking on a daily basis, okay, dinner's going to be, I have no idea what it is. Set a time in your week for your dinners for the following week. So you just devote that section of time to that task. And so you're not having to you're going to save yourself in that daily decision, what we're going to have for dinner, what we're going to have for dinner, because you know that you've already made a decision earlier on. One is make your decisions earlier. And another is, don't expect other people to know what needs to be done. You need to assign tasks to people. So if you see like a load of washing in the corner, don't expect somebody else to just pick it up because it's just there and it needs to be done. Because again, you're seeing things the way that you would do it. If you see a load, you'll pick it up. People's minds don't work the same way, but it does change when you assign them that task. Like, okay, you're in charge of the laundry. This is for you to do. So then when they see it, it's like, okay, that's what I need to do. And so if you assign it, you no longer have that mental load of, okay, that needs to be done. I don't know when that's going to be done. How am I going to fit that in? Can that person do it? There's a load there. Can you sort it out? Does that make sense? So it's like,
it does make sense. No, it answers the question. I think that actually kind of leads me into another question I have for you. What's one like household expectation that you've abandoned? So maybe initially this was an expectation that you felt like this always needs to happen in my home, but is there anything that you can think of that used to be an expectation for you that is no longer the case?
I would say for me, it would be that I would need to do everything. That's something that I didn't realize that I lived by until I got married. And I remember my husband would be like, he would try and help, and I'd think, no, I'm doing that, because it'd been wired to me thinking I need to do it. I remember there were times when my mum would come around to where my husband and I were staying, and she'd be like, Afua, your husband's coming home soon. Why don't you prepare him something to eat? Proper old school, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind doing that, but it was just
Yeah.
the fact that I was told. That just got my back. I was like, wait, hold on a minute. And my husband wasn't that kind of guy. He was like, I don't need to do it. I know the fridges. I can sort myself out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was just those little things that I'd picked up growing up, just thinking that if there's anything in that needs to be done in the home, that's on my shoulders. So, yeah, that's an expectation that I fully put to bed.
And I think that in itself could be a whole episode.
Oh,
But I think one thing that
PK.
I would say on that part is I think that's also where the maturity and growth comes from. Because I think sometimes for a lot of women and a lot of things that I see a lot of women saying that are fearful of getting married, it's partly for that reason, because there's so much more expectation on the woman. You still need to cook, clean and all the things.
Yeah.
But now most of us are working full time.
Right.
And realistically, being able to do all those things and be the only person taking care of the home is the reason so many wives are burnt out. It's just like, this does not benefit me. But I think, like what you said, having those conversations and actually allowing your partner to help you with, I can do this, but you need to do that. It just makes it more feasible for both of you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just have everything relying on you, which is not realistic.
It's so true. And I'm going to say something else that's going to be controversial as well. But one of the things that I don't think we factor in is how many men, not all, but many men are raised in an environment where they are not expected to do anything.
Yeah.
So when they get married, it's rinse repeat, because they came from an environment where their sisters or their mums did everything. So what do you mean I need to do? It's they're having to learn as well. And I think we need to apply grace for them to grow into that new season, because it's not the way, like you say, it's times have changed.
100%. And I think also that's why it's important when you are dating, you're getting to know someone, that you have these conversations.
Oh, so true.
And not just think, oh yeah, it's fine. Because a lot of the times people, they don't talk about this. Do you just you come with your expectations, that person has theirs. But these are those things that you need to talk about and try to iron out to also see, like, are we really aligned on this? Because it might seem like something really small, but a lot of marriages, they don't make it, because like that little thing that seems so small becomes a bigger thing as you go through different seasons in your life. So I think it's important to really have those conversations as well.
Absolutely.
And to see, where are we both on this?
Yeah. Not just staring into each other's eyes over a candlelit dinner.
100%.
Yeah.
You need to be talking and dissecting and looking at
Talk the
all the
talk.
things that you can.
Yes,
exactly. So I have one question just to wrap up the motherhood segment before we go into business. And I want to know more about what you're doing now as a home systems coach.
Sure.
This one's going to get you to think.
Okay.
But what is the biggest lesson that you hope your children are learning about love, partnership, and family from your daily life? What's one thing that you would want them to take away from you and your husband?
That love is a choice. We don't do what we do because we feel like doing it. We do what we do because we choose to love that person and be sacrificial and to serve that person. And I'm getting this from the Bible. This isn't something that Yemi and I just made up. Because we're mimicking what agape love looks like. And I think that's where so many marriages go wrong today. They base how they are with their spouse upon how their spouse is with them. But I think one of the most powerful things that you can do in a marriage is by showing love and leading love by how you choose to serve that person and not just focus on what you're getting back. Because if you're living in a marriage where both parties are choosing to serve each other, oh my gosh, it's the best thing. Because it's not just take. It's, I'm giving freely. But also, I also want them to learn that you need to have that space where you feel safe to speak up. That's so important. Don't be mute. Don't be scared. If you're scared, then you need to ask yourself why. Is it because of a fear that you have? You think you need permission? Or is it because the person you are with isn't giving you that space to share? Either way, it has to be addressed.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, marriage is an amazing thing.
It is. And I think also looking back at some of the things that you've spoken about in your own childhood, that kind of formed some of the fears that you had, expectations that you had. And it's like you have this opportunity to do things differently.
Yes.
You know, I'm sure there's so much you can learn from what your parents did or didn't do. And like now you're in real time being able to kind of change what that might look like for your child. So, and I think sometimes the way that I see being a parent is such a huge responsibility. It's so much more than just making sure they're fed, that they go to school. But that childhood, it literally shapes who you are going to be as an adult. It can have such an impact. Just those little things can impact how they will be as a parent going forward. So it's like, it's such a huge responsibility that you're able to leave that imprint on your child. And I think it's not something to take lightly. So it's beautiful to hear like how intentional you're being about being a parent and instilling that in your children.
It's so true, Peter Kay, because can I just say, just on the back of what you said, so beautiful. Because, you know, what we see as the everyday mundane in our lives as adults, that's somebody's childhood. And that's what you said. That's what's shaping who they are. So, yeah, it's really important.
And hats off to you because it's not easy. But you guys,
For the
you're
grace
doing a
of
great
God.
job.
Thank you,
Keep going.
I appreciate you.
So let's talk about business now, because you are a businesswoman. Okay, I know you're very humble, but you are. You are a serial entrepreneur. So I'm going to give you that title if you've never attached it to yourself.
I haven't, no.
Because you are. You've started multiple businesses, had many ventures. So I want to talk about that too. So I know you from initially when you were running your Natural Barnet page. I think you had a blog as well, and there was a point you were selling hair products.
Yeah, wow.
Other hair products that weren't your own.
You have gone that far back.
If my memory serves me well. Okay, good. Okay, my memory serves me well. And then you kind of transitioned into a phase of creating your own natural hair care products, which I believe was last year. You decided to stop selling your products. You know, you built a 6-figure business.
Yeah.
Which for most people, that is the goal. To say I made it to 6 figures and then you then decided to like, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. What made you decide to stop?
It was so many things. What you were saying about people seeing 6 figures as a goal, I saw that as a goal as well. I thought once we get to 6 figures, then, you know, write my name in gold. I'll be honest, because when the hair product business was doing so well, on the outside, it looked like it was glamorous. But behind the scenes, it was the hardest time of my life. It was the hardest point with my well-being. My marriage was going through its hardest time. Parenting was at its hardest, but that was all resolved during the business as well. But as well as that, I realized that I wanted to help women more on a interpersonal level, as opposed to making products, shipping them, and then that was it. I wanted to do something, work deeper with women. Also, to be honest, I didn't enjoy it as much. Actually, no, I didn't enjoy it at all. And this will sound crazy because, you know, people think if you're making so much, you know, money and you should be enjoying it and be grateful for what it is that you're doing. But I believe that if there isn't a passion behind what you're doing, and because I get that, you know, there are jobs that we need to do in order to make ends meet. This wasn't that conversation. This was a conversation about what I was given the opportunity to have a choice. If I was to keep doing this for, say, 20 years, would I be happy?
Yeah.
And would I base that happiness on? If the answer is just money, then that's the wrong answer. And I also was mindful that, you know, if my children are watching me, they're learning. And if they're going to turn around to me saying that they don't want to be somewhere because it's making them so unhappy, but the money's good, I can't turn around to them and say, no, but stay there. The money's great. No, you lead by example. So But I knew I had to be honest with myself. And that was a very difficult decision because I was walking away from a lot.
What would you say now or overall in your journey? What's been the biggest challenge of running a business whilst raising children?
The juggling. And it can be quite lonely as well. Whilst we're raising children, there's so much because you're wearing so many different hats already.
Yeah.
And then mum guilt is just it comes with it. But when you say that it's really hard to work from home and your children see you and they just want to spend time with you, but for a big chunk of the day you can't do that. That's really hard.
Yeah.
I don't miss those days at all, actually. I mean, I still work from home now, but it's not because everything was at home. Like I was doing the packaging, everything was at home. So sometimes we were just all living on top of each other and they couldn't walk a certain way in the hallway and the front room. And sometimes the boxes took over all the space. It was just mad. And it was a lot. It was a lot for everyone to juggle. And so during that time, the conflict was, wearing the multiple hats and, the loneliness was really hard, especially working from home.
And I guess as a mom, you're wearing many hats. And then also as an entrepreneur, you're wearing many hats as well.
There you go. Yeah.
And you're doing that alone. So
exactly.
It's not easy. So tell us about what you do as a home systems coach.
So this came into being completely unplanned. When I walked away from the hair products business, I had no idea what I was going to do. And, but I knew that leaving was the right decision. So I was, during that time, it was, looking back, it was meant to be me resting, but I just was like, no. Anyway, when I finally listened, that's when I got the idea. And it's amazing what comes to you when you're actually just resting. A friend reached out to me saying that she needed help with meal planning because she didn't know how to do it. And I was like, yeah, I do this all the time. So I was just sharing my ideas. And then as we were talking, the idea just came to me of helping women on this journey. And so as a home systems coach, what I effectively do is I help women alleviate their mental load by introducing systems in their home, which makes the home flow a lot better. And I'm not into just systems where it's all on the mum. I'm into simple shared systems where the responsibilities are shared amongst the members in the household. And it's been incredible, absolutely incredible. So yeah, that's effectively in a nutshell what I now do.
What would you say to a mum who is overwhelmed? She's doing all the things right now. Where would you tell her to start?
I would advise her to start in the place where she gets the most friction. So I know as women, we can look at, everything is equally stressful. But if we take a step back, that's not actually what it is. It's it's not trying to do everything in one day, but it's just taking one segment which causes you the most headache. And it could be the smallest thing. It could be not being able to leave the house on time because there's a shoe missing. Somebody's lost something. You don't know where something is. You've forgotten something. You have to go back home and go back to the school after, there's always something. So if it's mornings, for example, I would advise for her, start in the evening. Start in the evening, work your way back, and then do small things. Look at all, because remember something you said earlier on, Peter K, which was looking at, I think I was talking about marriage, that your frustrations are the symptom of what your expectations are.
What your expectations are. Mm-hmm.
So whatever stresses you have in the morning, that's a symptom of where you need to implement systems. So whatever it is where you're getting the most friction, look at small things that you can do. 2 or 3 things. Don't try and do the most. And you'll find that it's just making that starting point. That's what builds a momentum. And you'll just take it from there. And get people involved in your family as well. Don't just think, okay, I've seen the issue, I need to fix it. Because you're now all you've done is just seen a problem, and you're still making yourself the system, as opposed to
Yeah,
allowing people to think for themselves as well.
I love that. And I suppose there isn't a black and white, and that's where you come in,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
the system that works for me might not be what's going to work for someone else.
Mm.
So I definitely suggest any women listening that you need some help, definitely reach out to Afua. We're going to have all her details in the show notes. But I do have a question for you. On your own home systems, what would you say has been the biggest, well, the most impactful system that you've implemented in your home that's helped you?
Cleaning. 100% cleaning. Because what would happen would be I would clean the whole place. I would tidy and then clean while my whole family were just chilling. And then I'll get frustrated and start barking at people saying, "Can you not see that I'm doing all-" And oh my gosh. Um and then they'll be like, "Wait, what's the issue?" Because there were actually times when my husband would say to me, "Do you want me to do that?" I'm like, "No, I'm fine, I've got it." So it was, in hindsight, I think, how can I expect him to know what he needed to be done if, when he did ask, all I said was, "No, it's fine." Text messages
Yeah.
all over the place. Poor guy. But once we all sat, well, I sat with my husband and like, okay, we need to share this out, because cleaning was taking me like 3 to 4 hours. And I was broken by the end of it. So he said,
Yeah.
okay, he said, I'll do the bathroom. And I said, okay, I'm happy doing the kitchen and the front room. And then we got our kids to do different things. And now, because that's the first thing that we did. And now, like, we have a set day and a set time for it. And in the beginning, it took forever in my mind, because I thought it would just be easy if I just do this myself, because trying to teach the children, because at that, they were like 5 and 8 at that age. And, it was just taking forever. And I had to learn about patience. But it was slowly but surely their confidence built up. And now we're talking, she was 11 now, so 6 years. They get on with it, they do it. And it was those small stepping stones. Now they do it in like 30, 35 minutes. We're all done. Whereas before, it took us over an hour.
Yeah.
Because I was doing my stuff and then I have to go and watch them, or the Yummy will stop and watch them. But yeah, my biggest area was cleaning, because I'm a germaphobe. It took me a while to admit it. I'm a germaphobe. Yeah, that was the first area that we attacked.
So for what I'm hearing is, when you are delegating, you also need to give people time to
So
to
true.
actually start to get better at that task. Because even at work, we do the same thing. Maybe you
Mm,
need to delegate something to your colleague, and again, they're not doing it with the speed you want or the quality you want.
mm,
So you're like, "Oh, forget it, I'll do it myself," which is never going to be sustainable. So I guess it's just the process in between, being patient and giving people time to actually learn to do whatever it is that you're delegating to them.
exactly. Grace is so important.
Well, we're coming towards the last segment of the show. And honestly, this has been such a good conversation. For
Looking
me,
forward
there's
to it.
so much I've taken away from you, just hearing your experience and even knowing that I have you as a resource. Should I get to a stage in my life where I am having children and I need me some home systems coaching, I know I can come to you. Because I think, like me, there are so many women that we do kind of have that fear of like, I'm already doing so many things. How am I going to then be able to navigate being a mother and not losing myself? I think that's, especially for ambitious women, that is ultimately many of our fears, like losing yourself in motherhood,
Mm,
having to sacrifice your dreams, which is not easy.
mm,
So just being able to see how you've navigated exploring your career, having a business, and even then, coming to a different phase of your life and being able to do that while still being a mum and still seeing it as a blessing is really, really nice to hear.
mm.
So the last segment, I want to go into what I call the Pearl of the Week. So this is where I would normally share either something that I've recently learned, it could be something that's inspired me, or something that I want to share with the listeners to encourage them. So it could be about anything. So it would just essentially be like your quote of the week or your gem of the week.
Hmm.
So of course, as the guest, we want to know what your pearl of the week is. So what's something that you want to share to inspire us, or something that's even helped you?
Give things time to work themselves out. that's something that I'm really, it's really helping me to not think I have to have things figured out. Because one thing that Yemi's great at is if a situation comes, it's like, just give it time. And I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean give it time? Like, I needed to know this yesteryear. But I'm realizing that things really do work themselves out without my
Yeah.
interference. And when they do work themselves out, it works out in a way that I never could have concocted myself. So
Yeah.
just give things time to work themselves out.
And I'm also going to take that for myself as
Awesome.
well.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much. It's been such a good conversation. There's so much that I feel like I've learned a lot more about you as well. And it's always nice hearing someone else's journey and not just the highlights, but also the challenges as well and how you've been able to overcome that. It's been very inspiring to see. And also, I'm excited to see what this new phase of your 40s looks like for you because your children are also getting older. You know, you're probably going to maybe have a college student soon, secondary, like all of that. So it's really exciting to see what that's going to look like.
Can I just say one other thing? Sorry. Just what
Yeah,
you were
go
saying
for it.
about the hobbies. I was just thinking back on a previous question. Because you asked me a question earlier about how to be in tune with I'm paraphrasing, but your hobbies, like how to, I can't remember the exact way you said it, but do you remember? Like,
It might have been, was it about like rediscovering
yeah,
yourself
there it
or
is.
having your own hobbies? I can't
Yes,
remember.
rediscovering yourself. One of the things that I've found, because I think it depends on what season you're in. Because
Hmm.
sometimes you need to just be present in the moment. Well, no, you should always be present, and things come naturally that way. But at the same time, I would also add to that don't be afraid to make time for yourself. And you don't even have to have children in this. As women, we are taught from a very young age to busy ourselves by occupying ourselves by doing things, helping other people, serving here, just doing all the things. We're not really pausing
Yeah.
and making time for ourselves. And one of the ways that I think you can do that is even if that means switching everything off for a certain time in the day, just for a small section to just ask yourself, what do you want to do? And I got this idea because my husband was asking me what I want for my 40th birthday. And I'm like, well, you should already know what I like. Poor guy. And he's like, no, I want you to guide me. And that stunned me because I actually didn't know. I had to sit down and think, what do I actually want? And I had to really think about it. And that sparked something in me because then I realized that, you know, he has no problem when he just has his downtime. He'll just relax, he'll play, he'll chill. I didn't know how to do that. And I'd look at him
Yeah.
sideways like, how can you just chill? Like, I don't know how you just chill unless I'm socializing or I'm on my phone. Like, what's chilling? And so I've now realized that one of the things I like to do is just taking a walk, or I like to read. I've started reading again. And we've also introduced that with our son because he loves gaming, like gaming and screens. He loves it. But we're like, no, you need to get into other things. So
Yeah.
we just asked him to sit down and write different things that he likes. And he had no idea. So when I know, think about it. And we were just doing little brainstorming, and he likes classic cars and photography and just these different things that he wants to take a step into. And that's really inspired me. So I sat down and started writing down different things that I want to do. One of them is learning a new language. And I wouldn't have thought of that had I not just made time to just sit down and ask myself, what am I interested in? Like, what have I seen? And I think, that would be interesting. And
Yeah.
it's just by doing these things that I'm now starting to take some steps in. It's made me realize and discover myself in a way that I never would have before. Yeah, I would say two things: be present, but also be intentional at just finding things that you enjoy. That doesn't require you to be entertained, so to speak, with a screen in your face.
Yeah.
There's a time and a space for that, but there's so much more out there for you to do. That's what I wanted to say.
I love that. Thank you. That was a really, really good addition as well. And tell the people, where can they connect with you?
I would love to connect with you guys on my socials. You'll normally find me on Instagram, uh, TikTok. I'm now with the kids, and Facebook. Same handle at Natural Barnet. Meet me there.
Amazing. Thank you. I'll definitely put all your social handles in the show notes to make it easier for everyone, because I know we like it easy. So all you need to do is click, make sure that you follow and connect with Afua. And I think one of the things that I really love about you is the way you share your content is very authentic. And I think most people, you want the real, you want what you can connect with. And that's something I definitely encourage people that they can see from you. Like, you're going to get the real. So do connect with her. And thank you so much. I really appreciate the time that you've taken to speak with me.
Thank
I've
you.
really enjoyed our conversation. I hope you have as well.
Absolutely.
And I look forward to the next episode, because there's lots I feel like we could have gone off and spoken
Oh,
about, but
gosh.
we'd have been here all day.
To raise myself. I know. But can I just say, Peter K, I don't know if you're going to include this or not, but I just wanted to say I've been so inspired by your journey. And you call me a serial entrepreneur. Love, because I've been with you since you were doing your hair products. And I used to buy a few from you. I remember we met up in, I think it was
It was
Marble
somewhere in central
Yeah,
London.
somewhere there.
Yeah, I can't remember where, but it was
Okay,
definitely
yeah,
central.
I remember that as well. And I just remember being so inspired by just how you just had this vigor for life, and you were like, I want to do this and I'm going to go do that. And then you had a store selling your hair products at a hair event somewhere. And I just thought, that's so inspiring. And then I've seen just how you've progressed from that. And now you're giving financial literacy to other people, and you're doing your podcast as well. And I've seen how you're married, and how supportive you are with your friends, and you have your community around you. And I just think what you're doing is so incredible. And I know we haven't sat down and had a proper conversation, but I just think, please, sis, keep doing what you're doing. It's so admirable. And I just think you're amazing. I really do. I really do.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Honestly, that means a lot. And I'm learning to be better at to be fair, I think I'm good at receiving compliments, but also just acknowledging my progress myself, because I'm always thinking of like what I need to do next. So
I hear that.
I really appreciate that.
I hear
Thank
that.
you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me. It's been an
I'll hold
absolute
down to
pleasure.
that. Thank you. I can't wait to get you back.
I don't know about you, but I really, really enjoyed this conversation with V, and I hope you took something away from it. I would love to get her back on for a part 2 for us to dive a bit deeper into the topics we spoke about. There's so many different things, but I would love to know from you guys, what are some of the topics that you would like us to cover in a part 2? If you are listening on Spotify, I will create a poll and you can select the topics you want us to dive into in the next episode. If you've enjoyed today's episode, then don't forget to share it with a friend, leave a rating or review if you've not already done so, and I'll speak to you in our next episode. Have a great rest of the week, and I can't wait to be back to speak with you guys soon.